Well, thank you. You're back with Investing Insights with Barry Burnett. I'm your host, Barry Burnett, and I'm here with my fabulous guest, Bob Andersen, who is a practicing attorney in Riverside, and he takes cases all over wherever you can hear our voices. Bob has shifted from 34 years of litigation to a mediation process. Bob, why is mediation important, and what's the difference between mediation and arbitration?
Yeah, let me take the second question first. The difference between mediation and arbitration is that mediation, you're shooting for a settlement. You have a third-party mediator trying to bring the two parties together to say, okay, I'm willing to give up a little bit, but not everything, but I'm willing to agree with you to solve this dispute. Arbitration is very similar to a court system, other than you may not even have the right of appeal. It's a little bit cheaper, but you have an arbitrator who makes a decision very similar to how a judge makes a decision. So an arbitrator or an arbitration is very similar to the court process, although the court process is much more expensive, and so some people will go to arbitration for it's cheaper.
Okay, so who basically are the mediators and who are the arbitrators?
Usually in the court system, our attorneys can be mediators, attorneys can be arbitrators also. American Arbitration Association, you've got real estate, I think, has a system set up for arbitration. So but why I like mediation is because you can actually solve the problem. I think some people don't realize that when you go into court, the judge has to make a decision based upon the law and the facts, what he thinks that those laws and those facts require. So usually it's either you go one way or you go the exact opposite way. The judge doesn't have an opportunity many times to go in the middle, but the mediator has an opportunity to split the difference, or even better, is to come up with a creative idea that solves the problem that both people are really struggling to get to.
So you've got two people or two sides who have bitterly opposed ideas, and attorneys who sometimes are fomenting it because they're getting paid by the hour, and you've got a situation that can be run amok. But in a mediation, are they entitled to be represented by an attorney?
Yes, and many times attorneys are very essential to the process. They help to get the facts out. If you have a very sophisticated accounting and you need to figure out, well, what the financial numbers are, even before you start talking to the other side, the attorney can help you get those facts together to make sure that when you talk to the other side or mediate with the other side, you're talking with facts that can actually be used. Okay,
so if you've just tuned in, you're listening to Investing Insights with Barry Burnett. I'm Barry Burnett, your host. I'm talking to Bob Andersen, who's an attorney on specializing in litigation mediation and particularly trying to get resolution and settlement. Bob, why in the world does that make any difference to people who own commercial investments and to real estate investments?
Let me give you a famous example. It's not my example, but it's a famous example. Let's say one party says, I want all the oranges that were produced this year because there is a very important ingredient in the orange, and we need that to save lives. We need to make a medicine out of it. Yeah. And the other party says, I need all the oranges that are being produced in order to solve this problem of famine. So they fight over who gets the oranges. A mediator can come in and say, why do you need the orange? The peel is what has that essential ingredient for the medicine. The juice is what has that essential ingredient to solve the famine problem. You can actually go into business together, and the doctor can get the peel, and the farmer can get the juice, and you can solve the problem and actually create new value because you're being creative in what you're doing.
So occasionally we get the benefit of the wisdom of Solomon.
Yes, but you have to be creative.
Okay.
In that case, you need to be creative, and you need a mediator that can be creative and understand what is exactly the interest that's involved here.
Now, we see people get sideways all the time in commercial real estate. So if you've just tuned in, do you want to go to court? Well, it's very distasteful. The costs are extraordinary. You hire an attorney at a tremendous amount of money per hour, and then they bring on staffs, and then you have to have depositions and hearings and filings, and you know that the meter's running. And the minimum to file a case is about what?
The filing fee in Riverside is about $450,
Okay.
and that's before you pay the attorney anything.
Okay.
And you've got all the pleadings, you've got all the discovery, you've got all the depositions.
$5,000, $10,000, $15,000 like water.
And then trial. And if somebody doesn't like the result, you can go to appeal and add double the time.
Okay, so we know that that the Los Angeles court system has pared down from approximately 25 courts down to 5. We know that the average time for a court trial for a civil matter in Los Angeles is between 7.5 and 9 years. How long is it in Riverside?
Yeah. Before you get to trial, most cases will get to trial by 2 years. But that's before the appeal process. I mean, if you appeal it, then you can easily double it after that. But then if you get a complicated case where you've got a lot of discovery dispute problems that you have to go to judge to get the judge to decide how to resolve, do I get this information or do I not get this information, that can extend it long beyond the complicated cases will go longer than 2 years.
Okay, so if people want more information about their particular case, they should go to barryburnett.net and register so that we can connect them with you directly, Bob, and so that they can immediately ask you these questions of law. If you register at barryburnett.net, we'll connect you with Bob Andersen, his mediation practice, and all of our other superb cooperating partners who handle issues of intricacy and specialty in commercial and multi-residential investing properties, specifically to help you run your portfolio smarter, safer, stronger. And in doing that, we know that Bob, the stuff that you're talking about, it's quintessential. Now, we're going to talk about some of the wild crazies of cost and how mediation, geez, if you get tangled up with somebody, you should definitely find some solution. But rather than going to court, we're going to beg you, as our listeners, beg you, please seek mediation before it gets totally out of control, because we're going to talk about those costs when we come right back.